You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you have intel that the assassination attempts on President Trump were directly from Iran?
Through proxies, yes. Through their intel, yes. They want to kill him. Look, he's enemy number one. He's a decisive leader. He never took the path that others took to try to bargain with him in a way that is weak, giving them basically a pathway to enrich uranium, which means a pathway to the bomb, padding it with billions and billions of dollars. He took up this fake agreement and basically tore it up. He killed Qasem Soleimani. He said, made it very clear, including now, you cannot have a nuclear weapon, which means you cannot enrich. He's been very forceful. So for them, he's enemy number one.
Yeah.
Look, they also tried to kill me, but I'm his junior partner. They understand that President Trump is a great threat to Iran's plans to weaponize nuclear weapons and use them.
It's Tel Aviv, tomorrow it's New York. I understand America first. I don't understand America dead. That's what these people want. They chant death to America. So we're doing something that is in the service of mankind, of humanity, and it's a battle of good against evil. America should and does stand with the good. That's what President Trump is doing, and I deeply appreciate his support.
I wanted to cover a lot of this as it was unfolding last night, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm too old to be trying to keep up with the news all night long when the news is going to be there in the morning, if you understand what I'm saying. For those of you who stay up all night watching news, it's going to be there when you wake up. That's if you wake up, it'll be there. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I don't like it. I'm going to tell you what I don't like about what's going on with Israel, Iran, and Donald J. Trump right now. I don't like the fact that Netanyahu got to come on TV in America, Fox News and ABC, and address the American people and try to make a case to the American people for the American people to enter the war and for Donald Trump to be forced into the war. I don't like it. I don't see us on TV in a nation. I ain't never seen Donald on TV in a nation making a case for nothing. And then I want to remind you guys that I don't like the fact that we know that Mossad is the people who that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell work for as well, and that they have blackmailed the hell out of majority of our politicians. I don't like that either. I don't like the level of leverage that I see being exercised over the military of the United States of America.
Chapter on the largest state sponsor of terrorism in modern history. We got a chance to end the threat to the state of Israel forever by replacing this regime with something better. And I do believe the biggest winner of the Ayatollah leaving would be the Iranian people. So pray for our troops in harm's way. There are risks associated with any operation. They join the military to keep their country safe and to make the world a better place. And taking on the Ayatollah does both. To our friends in Israel, we have your back. We're praying for success. You've tolerated too much too long, and to the world, you have normalized trying to kill the Jews.
So when I tell you this is a dangerous situation, remember, Lindsey Graham is the same son of a bitch, pardon my language, that went over to meet with Zelensky, him and Blumenthal, right? They just did it last month. It may have been earlier this month. This is the same son of a bitch that went over there to meet with him. And Zelensky's like, I'm Zelensky. I will not do a deal. And then Donald says, maybe y'all going to have to fight it out. Then Zelensky gets bombed. Right? So here we go. Lindsey Graham is given audience on major news media. And Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal are spokesmen. Actually, Lindsey Graham is the mouthpiece for the deep state when it comes to like war and making money or war profiteering. So we got the deep state mouthpiece for war coming out. It's obvious based on what he did in the Ukraine. We got Netanyahu coming out saying, oh yeah, they tried to assassinate Donald Trump twice. How come you ain't say that shit to the American people when the assassination attempt was going on? We know the very first assassination attempt was when they had that shooting in Las Vegas. That was the first one. That's documented. We know the second assassination attempt was when he was Butler. Then we know the Ukraine tried to assassinate him at his damn golf course. Everybody trying to knock Donald Trump off, to be honest with you, which means that everybody trying to knock the American people off. The point I'm making, let me get back to the videos. So Donald leaves the G12, G7 summit, and as he's leaving, he says Tehran needs to evacuate. And I felt like this was him putting pressure on them to get them to come to the table.
That was a good time.
You just posted right before we took off that you're not leaving because of a ceasefire. Why are you? Can you elaborate?
We're looking at a better than a ceasefire. We're not looking for a ceasefire. didn't say I was looking for a seat.
So all the signs are pointing to Donald Trump is accumulating leverage over the Iranian mullahs. Now, the next thing that's showing me that he's accumulating leverage over them is, if you recall, Netanyahu came out and says Israel has control over the skies of Iran. Right? Remember, he said that. That was yesterday. Then Donald came out today and said, no, U.S. has control over the skies of Iran. And to me, that was a very subtle sign. Remember, all this is playing out publicly, right? So to me, that's a very subtle sign that Netanyahu, shut up. And that's the honest to God truth. Netanyahu, shut up. Because if it wasn't for us defending you with our technology, Iran would have hit you with 17,000 missiles up your bumhole. They would have shot every missile they had up your bumhole. And so that was a sign to me that Donald Trump came to the table. But let me just show you some of these things, and you're going to make up your own mind. I'm speculating. I'm pretty good at this, though. If you've been with me for a while, I'm pretty damn good at this. But I'm speculating. I'm deciphering what I'm seeing real time. So let's go on over to the Twitter where we can see this kind of like on, Truth Social post. Hold on. Let's switch over to that.
Well, first of all, after he had left, the French president, Emmanuel Macron, seemed to indicate that Donald Trump was going back to Washington to sort of try to come up with a ceasefire proposal between Israel and Iran. He said that to reporters. And just as he was getting on the plane, Donald Trump responded on Truth Social with some not very kind words for the French president, saying that he was publicity seeking and had mistakenly said that there was this work on a ceasefire. He has no idea what I am now on my way to Washington for, but it certainly has nothing to do with a ceasefire, adding it will be much bigger than that without giving any more information. There is some reporting that Donald Trump will be meeting with his whole national security team in the Situation Room when he gets back to Washington, meaning that this might be something that is pretty big, but we don't know exactly what that will be.
Now, the first post I want to cover over here, and just follow the thought pattern, is what the reporter was talking about with Macron. Now, we know Macron is a little bit of a snake. He's married to a dude, and he's a snake. And so what do you expect a slithering little weak snake to do other than to sabotage, pretty much the alpha male? Shout out to Breitbart News. They got it all accumulated together. So then we get Donald coming out saying he wants an unconditional surrender of Iran, right? And why would he want an unconditional surrender? Because they put him in a position where Netanyahu forced his hand, coming out, going against what he was saying that they weren't going to stop bombing them. And Netanyahu's defense ministers forced his hand. You know what I'm saying? And so it causes a little bit of a problem. So here's Donald. He comes out and says, he's got to put ultimate pressure and leverage on everything. He's got to be louder than everybody else. So he says, I want an unconditional surrender. We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, quote unquote, kill, at least for now. But we don't want missiles. We don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention. So he's taking command of the conversation. He's basically saying, stop shooting missiles at Israeli civilians. We don't want to shoot missiles at your civilians. We know where you are. You cannot hide. Come out and let's have a conversation, or come out and surrender. Now, the scary part about what's going on with this, ladies and gentlemen, is Donald actually is laying the groundwork to strike in Iran. He really is. So the one thing that we've noticed about him is when he's doing stuff, he does it publicly, so nobody can add words to what he says. He says it publicly. And when you follow the public trail of what's being said, it all makes sense.
And we are just getting this in and want to bring it to you. It is the president's latest Truth Social. We now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. We have complete control. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment, and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff, he says. Nobody does it better than the good old USA. from the President of the United States moments ago. All eyes are on him in the White House right now and what the next moves in the conflict will be as it's starting to escalate again and again in the Middle East. New video showing a series of Israeli airstrikes across western Iran. And perhaps that's exactly what President Trump was talking about, controlling that airspace. Those Israeli strikes have taken out dozens of missile launch sites and radars that are spread across the western region there.
In my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about messaging. When you see your president openly negotiating and posting posts on Truth Social, who is he talking to? What's the purpose of it? Well, I mean, every person in Iran sees his Truth Social posts, and that puts pressures on the mullahs, and it also speaks to other people in other nations. So I tell you what I predict, and I don't think I'm gonna get this on 100% right, but I think that I predict that he's gonna push them towards a full surrender. In fact, he kind of has no choice but to push them towards a full surrender. I mean, if we do regime change and America institutes the regime change, then America's tied into the Middle East, which is what Lindsey Graham and all the war hawks want. And now they could go in with Halliburton and they can change out and they can rebuild roads and they can make millions and billions of dollars. Or the Taliban comes in, or ISIS comes in and murders a bunch of Christians, and then 20 years from now, it's another regime that's built up, and we get to bomb them, and the military-industrial complex makes money bombing them for the next 20 years. Or they can surrender, come to the table, and do a deal, which is what Donald wanted them to do in the first place, and under that deal, they could prosper and grow. At this point in time, I think they realize now that the best option on the table is what Donald offered. Quite frankly, I think they realize it. And sometimes with people, man, they got to get busted in the nose before they realize, hey, bruh, I offered you a deal, and now you're getting bloody nose, and now you want to fight. Now you got a little bit of scrap. Now you're hurt. I think we'll get a deal. Or if we don't get a deal, we'll get a regime change. It'll be better for the United States of America if we got a deal with Iran.